And to some extent, when Alistair went on to religious research, again, people thought, well, you've lost brownie points because, I mean, he's gullible and so on. And in the last edition of his book about man's evolution, Western Hereford, I understand, left that bit out. So he had obviously got backed by he was coming back at him just as I did it.
So when you did your research for Descent for them,
Yeah.
did you know about this?
No, never heard of it.
So it was, I mean, this, I mean, I just read it again the other day, and
Yeah.
I was very impressed. You know, I mean, a lot, you've been criticised for not being scientific and so on.
Yes.
But in fact, you know, I think it does, it's very well written, and it does seem to be,
Well, yeah.
researched it very well.
I mean, well, considering I was only on it, you know, sort of a year or so in between writing television plays, and I just go down to the Mountain National Library and get what books were there, and then turn to the back and see the references and think, well, that one sounds good, and I'll order that through the library or sometimes buy it. But of course, I hadn't had sort of undergraduate grounding. I hadn't even taken A-levels in it, so there were great empty patches. But, and of course, it was flippant and it made jokes and all that, meditated against it from scientists.
So who were who first published it? I mean, do you remember?
Souvenir Press.
And who do you remember doing did you type the manuscript and send it off? Or?
Maureen did the typing. Originally I typed my own plays, but he was good at it, and he got impatient because I would, you know, if I had to rewrite it, I would sort of type a line and stick it on the script to save the trouble of going through all it. And it was in the days of carbon paper and all that, and I'm still only a two-finger typer. So he did the typing.
And so, did you have any trouble getting it published? I mean, do you have a good relationship?
I sent it to my agent, and I didn't know whether it would get published or not. My agent phoned me and said, "You sat down and wrote this book." And he felt from the beginning it was a winner, and he sent it to Ernest Tech, the Souvenir Press, who was at that time a friend of his, but later not. And I snapped it up. And he started giving plugs for it before it even come out.
So it's published in 1972. How many reprints have there been?
Oh my gosh.
And do you know how many copies it sold?
No idea. But it went into a lot of languages. And in America, when I was in America, the Book of the Month Club choice had been a biography of Howard Hughes, the millionaire, and they found out at the last minute that it was a fake, so they pulled it out and put Descent of Woman in.
I noticed on the documentary there, you know, you saw the great footage of you bombing all over America and going on the road. That's incredible. So that must have been really enjoyable time. So,
the funny story about that is that I rang them up in New York and said that they'd sort of offered to pay my expenses, and I said, "Is it okay if I bring a boy with me and I pay his expenses?" And they sort of didn't like that idea at all, but they said, "Well, all right." And when I got there, I found out they hadn't liked it because they'd been sort of publicising me as a nice girl, and here I was bringing this toy boy along with me. Where's my 6-year-old? No, 11-year-old son I was taking with me, so there was a great smile's relief when I got off the plane, and it wasn't it.
So now that I've got the next book you publish, and I'll have to again be totally ignorant because I've tried to get hold of a copy, but I don't know if it's still in print. But you wrote a book called Falling Apart.
Yes, yes.
And what's that all about?
Oh, that was it was. I don't mention that one. It was roughly a sort of green book before the Greens had really got underway. And it was purporting to be about economics and things, which I knew a lot less about than I'd known about biology.
And when did you write that one?
I want to know. Well, between 72 and 80, because I keep the dates of the biology ones more like that, but that one has gone out of my head.
Well, we'll move on from that. Now, again in the documentary there was this chap called Chuck from America, which I didn't know anything about. So,
Chuck.
So a policeman,
A policeman
that wrote you a letter to urge you to write more.
Yes, I have given up. And he said, you know, I keep waiting for your next book. And I said, well, you know, I've said all I've got to say about that. I'm writing television plays. But he kept pestering me, saying, you know, people carry on as if you've never said it, you know, you've got to do something. And I still didn't do it, but then he'd written to all these leaders of thought in the world of evolution, and he sent me copies of it. I had thought, well, there must be some good reason why they're rejecting it. And in their minds it's so stupid they can't even bother to explain to me. You know, I thought, why didn't somebody say, just briefly in one of the journals, this theory is rubbish because A, B, C and D. But they never did, and I thought, well, it's so obvious to them, they can't be bothered. When I got these letters from Chuck, I could see they haven't bloody well got the answers. And I mean, some of them were sort of jealous because it had earned a lot of money and they'd been slaving in the vineyards for all these years and were still sort of just backroom scientists nobody'd ever heard of. And I, who knew nothing about it, I made a packet of it. I mean, I did. It's the only one I have made sort of serious money out of, and then it was only half as much as Tech was pretending, and it came in over about 10 years.
And he was just a layman. He just read the book, and he didn't have a particular interest
He had no more expertise than I have. He just picked it up off the bookstall and read it, and waited for more and hadn't got any more. But I mean, he was the guy. He liked corresponding with people, and I mean, a lot of his correspondence was about the Quite but I'm sure he had a lot of other irons in the fire as well. But he was a sort of compulsive letter writer, and he sent me these things, and I mean, I could tell. I mean, they're just waffling.
So he sent you the replies from
he sent me the replies
from anthropologists.
Yes.
Heads of
Yes, that's right. And I mean, they were all unanimous in saying, I mean, this is a lot of nonsense. But when I came to analyse it, you know, I thought this is my chance to find out where I went wrong. There was not the trace of indication of where I'd gone wrong. It was just, you know, this is not science as we know it.
That's not science, that's right. They say it's not science. It's not worth spending time.
Yeah.
And so on from that then, you then wrote a book, The Aquatic Ape.
Yes.
That was next, and that's another one I haven't been able to get.
You haven't got it on, I'll just give you a copy then.
Oh,